Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast on the eve of the Thunder World Championship.
Game. Do not. Are you kidding me right now?
What?
I mean, Jesus Christ. Also, every time we've recorded the pod, they lose the next day or that day. Every
Why are
single
you so
time.
angry right now?
Because you just tried to jinx everything. Tried to jinx the whole
I
damn
said the
thing.
eve of the
Thunder
World
Championship.
Yeah.
You've already declared the
game. You've already declared it over. We got to get focused.
Jesus Christ.
What are you doing?
Replay the intro.
No, we're
3,
leaving it.
2, 1. My God.
I will redo the intro, but
Oh
we're
my
keeping
God,
all
that
of this
was scary.
in.
That was
we're
scary.
keeping all
Well,
of, this was going.
There's
It's going
4
to go out to the
quarters.
world.
There's 4 quarters to be played.
They don't even have Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh God!
my God.
Oh boy,
I
you
do
guys
like
are
where they
on
sit,
edge.
though. I do like where they sit. Just got to play well. One
I
game.
was serious.
One game away.
Replay the intro.
Well, I think we're good. We called it out, so we covered it out.
Okay.
And knocked on wood.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. We can just redo the intro really if you want to. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. In 3, 2. Well, I turned the volume down.
What if we just act like we did?
News team!
Oh God, everything's f***ed now.
News team!
You're right. I screwed this up.
All right.
All right, 3.
It'd be really fun if we just weren't even recording, though.
That's a possibility always. We are recording though.
Don't replay the intro. It's over now. You've already screwed it up.
I didn't screw up anything. I just made it better. That's what I did. All right, just pipe down over there. We welcome in Josh McQuistion, who is here. Well, I don't want to say more bad news because there's been no bad news, but some bad news, I guess. I don't know, Josh. You tell us how to feel about this situation with Will Conroy, who is out of the blue announced that he is committed to North Carolina now and no longer Oklahoma.
Yeah, this is a guy with Will. You had heard some rumblings, like he visited North Carolina last weekend. I had heard some stuff back in like mid-spring because I know Bill Belichick had actually gone by IMG and like they had really tried to put in some work there, but you didn't think much was going to come of it. And then all of a sudden he takes an official last weekend, and you're like, okay. And I honestly wasn't hearing a lot back, and that's one of two things. Either things are going really badly or we're kind of pissed off, but this is going to be fine. Like, that's really kind of – and it looks like it was the latter. So I haven't talked to Will. That hasn't – because at this point I don't know what he's going to say other than – rah North Carolina type shit. So
that was the craziest quote I've ever seen from somebody on a decommitment.
That's not real, right?
That can't be real. There's no way that's real.
What was it?
He said, if God wasn't a Tar Heel, why did he make the sky Carolina blue? Go Heels. That was definitely Bill Belichick's girlfriend that made him put that out.
Jordan?
Literally,
Jordan?
As we're talking, I just got a message from a good source, and it sounds kind of like what we heard with Mateer back in the in the winter when the portal was going on. North Carolina made a pretty substantial investment here. So I think that is, and again, like, if you've got to make your choices, Will Conroy's a center. Guys, I can find centers that can play ball at the level OU needs that I don't have to
without being well into
my
the
entire
6 figures.
Yeah. I don't have to mess up my entire, budget for that player. So again, that's no shot at Will Conroy. That's a shot at the position. Like I don't think that's where you want to value your money.
Josh, it certainly doesn't seem like that would hurt Oklahoma. Sometimes when you get a kid to decommit, it might hurt your relationship with that school. A little bit different that he's an IMG kid. I mean, does that play into any of this?
Yeah, and again, this is honestly, if anything, IMG's calling OU. I'm like, hey, we're real sorry about that.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of deal where he was committed to OU, then he makes the move to IMG. So there is. But I mean, like, I don't think there's hard feelings from OU to IMG in either direction, and there shouldn't be. It's not IMG's fault any more than it's OU's. Like, I think North Carolina just came in, was willing to do some big NIL, kind of lifting here, and at the same time, the kid's going to say, I get to go play for Bill Belichick, probably the greatest coach that ever lived. Like, I get it. Like, I get that there's more to it just than the NIL, but at the same time, this is the stuff that's going to happen. And Eddie, when Noah Best committed, and we had that conversation a week ago, we talked about that possibility. Could he be a center? He could be. Like, that's not crazy. But I think, now you've really got to make sure you want to land your Deacon Schmitz. You want to land your Devin Robinson that's coming in this weekend for the officials. So, I mean, it puts more pressure on the situation. But I think Oklahoma, on its own, this is not something that should hurt Oklahoma. Now, if they don't get things on track, then yeah, it could be a catalyst. But by itself, I don't see it as a huge issue.
All right. So moving forward, we got a lot of stuff going on today. I'm going to go down to Dallas after the pod and take in whatever it is that Jim Nagy is having to say down there. And our guy Will from Cody Drugs actually paying the $2,000 to go to dinner with him afterwards. I did not opt for that option. Didn't think that was what I wanted to do with $2,000. Rather put it toward a watch, maybe.
I was just in a watch shop earlier this morning, Carey. You'd have been really proud. I was talking watches with people.
No, you weren't.
No, I mean, like, in the essence of, like, Tiffany talking recruiting with someone who knows recruiting. That's what it basically was. Like, I was like, I think that one's pretty. Like, that's about as far as I got with it. So, yeah, I impressed them for
Did you really use the phrase pretty?
I probably did. I will say I referenced you because I was like, because she showed me this one, and I was like, yeah. Okay, so the reason I was in there, I'm having one of my watches repaired. It was just a battery problem, no big deal. But as I'm waiting for them to fix it, I get to walk around the shop, and I'm looking at them, and I was like, everybody tells me I should go with these simple faces, like the not the stuff and the dials, and I was like, I like the ones with the dials. Like, I don't know if that makes me trashy. I don't know what that makes me, but I don't like the,
means you like
the
interesting
simplistic,
dials,
like
yeah.
singular color. Yeah. So that's
George likes chronographs. So I mean,
is that what that's called? Can I say that word and like I'll know what I sound like? I know what I'm talking about.
Usually, I mean, like this is a chronograph, but George has got a couple of chronographs, I think.
I do have a few chronographs, but I like the diver watches too.
Yeah, he's gotten really into the diver watches. He's got his eye on a Seiko. Might be the wedding watch. We don't know. I'm no longer in the wedding watch business. I've been taken out of the loop. So anyway, Eddie, we've been sitting around watching a lot of good baseball, which kind of, I don't know if it gives OU a little FOMO, watching some of these teams just fall apart out there or have terrible defense like Oregon State had last night. Well, Louisville had some bad defense too.
Probably not. But yeah, it's been good. We'll see. I still think LSU and I guess Coastal, probably the two teams that are going to be playing. I don't know if either of those teams could be beat twice, but certainly can't count out Arkansas. The Gage Wood thing on Monday was incredible.
God.
19 strikeouts at a what was it? I guess basically he was a walk away from throwing a perfect game, third no-hitter in World Series history.
Did that end up tying the 9-inning record?
I never saw it. I think it tied it, but then I don't know what I was looking at, I guess would be my answer. I thought the record was 17 or 18. I think overall record's 20 or something. That was in a 15-inning game.
Innings, yeah.
So I don't know. It's been good, though. Yeah, that's what happens in college baseball, it seems like. You get some teams that get into leverage situations and make big mistakes.
So I know, you had, what was it, Christensen to win the portal? It was a surprise?
Yeah. I don't know if it was a surprise as much as they didn't know. I think it was kind of like a 50-50, and then he decided to go in. So Brandon Kane entered his name today. I think if he was going to stay at Dorman, he was going to be a pitcher only, and I truly don't know. I've sent some messages out this morning, haven't heard back in why he went.
But it seems like they've done pretty well with what they brought in.
From a transfer portal, from positions they need to get some pitchers. I think that's probably priority number one right now. You have to get some pitchers in because they're going to lose, obviously the Witherspoon brothers. They're at the MLB Combine. I think the pitchers go today. Hitters were yesterday, and they need to get some pitching. There's no doubt about that. Good news is I think there's going to be some guys that are going to want to come in and work with Skip. I don't know a whole lot about the Maryland kid, but his numbers look good a year ago on a bad team.
All right, so I always enjoy the College World Series. It's been a lot of fun. The games have been interesting, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, really competitive.
I think mainly, we've just been so recruiting focused lately. I mean, Josh, we've done a couple recruiting reports.
It's June 18th.
It's June 18th.
June 18th.
What else are you going to do?
I will say, just like from being around camp, if you want to talk about team stuff, there's a bunch of guys that look great. I feel like we say this every summer, though. I don't know if that really gleans into anything for the actual team side of the happenings down here, but like Elijah Thomas, the video of him dunking, I think we talked about that last week when we were doing the pod. He looks incredible right now.
He's just a guy, like, he's not gonna, like, I'm not saying he's as big as he's gonna get, but he's got to, like, mature just as a man a little bit, I think, to put on much more muscle. I mean, he looks great, and I just don't know, if he's going to look that much different before the season starts. Like, I don't really see him making, like, a ton of noticeable gains, but he's just one of those guys, like,
I think that
he's yoked up everywhere. I mean,
yeah, what he was able to do in, I guess, 5 months on campus, he looks completely different. Now, I can't say that I saw him a ton when he was at Shakota, but just from like it's night and day from what it was a year ago, I guess, at this time when we were talking to him down in Dallas, Josh.
Yes, sorry, I was reading something. Who are we talking about?
I could tell. That's why I went to you.
Yeah.
No, Elijah Thomas, just from like where he was.
The Under Armour camp.
When we saw him at the Under Armour camp, physically, it's completely night and day different from what he is right now.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
What would you guess, Eddie, since that point in time when we saw him, that was what, about 18 months ago now?
35 solid pounds, at least.
Yeah. I mean, in like good weight.
Thighs and biceps and shoulders. I mean, like that's where you notice the biggest gains.
And he's always been pretty big, like in his legs and stuff, like for a high school kid. A lot of times you get these receivers and they're, like they do some lifting, but it's like all upper body and they don't have the lower development. Like he's always been pretty big through his legs and stuff. So like I always kind of thought he might be able to hit the ground running a little faster because he wasn't just going to get bumped every time somebody kind of, every time he got bumped. I can't think of a better way to say that. There's no save for that. But yeah, I like, again, I don't know how you look at him and a couple of the other guys. I would say for me, he looked incredible. Danny Okoye might be 265 pounds now. He looks enormous, guys. Like that's probably overdoing it. But if he's not 255, I'd be stunned. He looks humongous to me. Guys, the guy that I maybe we talked about this on air. I know we talked about it kind of around the office, but Derek Simmons is not what I physically expected. Like, he is a big guy, but he's not like fleshy. I thought he would be like softer than he is. Like, he's just a kind of big, like he literally makes me think like old man strength just because he's older than just about everybody.
Well, he looks like he's 40.
Yes. He could absolutely be a coaching assistant for Bill Bedenbaugh.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we've seen, like, Sammy Omosigho looks great. I mean, Kobe McKenzie had dropped, I thought some pretty good weight. Like, he just seemed to lean up a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I mean, God, you got to look at I got Felix Ojo.
PJ.
Michael Fasusi, just unbelievable. I mean, even with just wearing a T-shirt. I mean, watching him go out there and work with the Poly kid that's going out to IMG, you're just like, those are two different humans.
Foje looked really good. Like, he's put on a lot more weight than I mean, because I saw him, guys, that's the thing. Like, you guys get to watch it kind of, like you get to see him spring, practices or whatever. I last saw him in November, which is, 8 months ago. I bet he's put on 20 pounds, and it's like solid. Like, I mean, just really crazy to see that development, how fast that's going. And again, and maybe while I was reading, I missed this. I think it all starts with PJ. PJ's such a mutant. Like, it's hard to put it into words how much he should be the first guy. Guys, if there was like a short list of like first guys off the bus in the entire SEC, PJ's going to be one of those guys. Like, he would fit in on any roster in college football.
And we saw a lot of David Stone. He looked good.
Yeah.
He's leaned up a little bit and still big. I mean, I would say I would love to just sit down with Jerry Schmidt and just ask him, like, is it easier now that you can point to these kids that they're making money, like, as motivation? Like, you want to lose $1 million? Don't show up when I tell you to. Like, that's got to make his life easier, as much as it could also make the coaches' lives more difficult.
Outside of maybe a couple, like, here and there over the last couple of years, you really haven't heard of anything like from the summer or from off-season conditioning that have become problems. Like, and that's why I think it always goes back to like the conversation we always have about Brent, that it's a very uncomfortable conversation because
Devon
everything.
Mitchell.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, outside of him,
But he basically got asked to leave because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear about that very often nowadays. So I don't know.
No,
like,
you
to
don't.
answer your question.
I mean, Devon Mitchell was a complete anomaly. Like, you just, it's been so long since I've heard a guy just doesn't show up to workouts.
Yeah.
Well, and I know people will be like, well, now that they've got money, they don't feel like they got to listen. I can tell you, I talked to 2 or 3 different guys last week during camps, and some of the younger guys, and they're like, he terrifies me. They're still scared shitless of Jerry Schmidt. So, like, there's no lack of like respect of like, this guy will tear me apart if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
But I also think OU is pretty consistent with the message of, you're making money here, but this is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to make money in the NFL, which makes them know, like, you have to work your ass off while you're here if you really want to continue making this kind of money the rest of your life.
Well, and
or
all
even
these
more.
kids, like, every time I talk to them, like, what are your goals? NFL. That's all they're thinking about. And so if you're going to say that, then, hey, you better know this is just a stepping stone. Like, this is just, and I know, like, fans hate to hear that, but stepping stone's wrong. It's the next step on your path. Like, if you're trying to get where you want to go, you better just do everything you can here. And they can lay that out. Like, I think that's one of the few things that I think NIL has been good for. It's cut out a lot of the bullshit conversation. Like, you can be more direct with players. They can be more direct with you. Like, and it's just like, this is what it is. There's no reason to act like we're doing, charity work for the homeless here. Like, this is a business. We're all doing that. We're all trying to do the same stuff. Let's get it done.
Okay. One other thing that's going on right now is Elite 11. Bowe Bentley is out there. I've read some of the reports. It's not like he's been at the top of any list or anything like that, but Josh, it's kind of like one of those things too. I mean, I was going down the list. I know Eddie and I have gone down the list before, just like you see some of the guys that won the Elite 11 and you don't even know who they are. They've disappeared.
It's a scary list if you go through it.
But
guys that just simply did not work.
But it also, you have C.J. Stroud who won it, and you have Caleb Williams that won it.
Did Jackson Arnold win it?
Jackson Arnold won it. Yeah.
This is what spurred the conversation of who has actually gone to the Elite 11 and gone and done really well. Now,
Cade Klubnik won it.
I still think when you look at the entire body of work, they've done a really good job over the last decade of identifying the better quarterbacks in each class. There's been a lot of times where the roster looks great. It's just the guy that ends up, quote unquote, winning the event.
Shea Patterson, that's one of the more,
oh my God,
how did that happen kind of thing.
I remember him coming to a camp, I think going into his junior year. He came to OU's camp, and everybody's like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable, and just freaked out about him. And I mean, he just did nothing in college. But what I thought was interesting from our guy Charles Poward on 3, he kind of broke down what does it all mean? What are the ranking? What is on getting to the Elite 11, getting evaluated, and all the excitement. What does that mean? He, on average, less than 2 members of each Elite 11 have become first-round picks.
Crazy.
That's unbelievable.
In 1 year?
An annual basis, it was 1.6 or 1.8 players per year end up drafted or end up being first round picks.
I got you.
That's crazy. That's lower than I would have guessed.
Yes, I would have thought 2.5 probably. Again, there's only 32 first round picks, but we all know, especially as of late, if there is a quarterback that's even close, he's going in the first.
But you know what, Josh? That's also kind of speaks to how you can be a good quarterback and not be put in a position to succeed. I mean,
yeah.
Spencer Rattler won this, and I wouldn't say that he played. I don't think a lot of OU fans watched him when he was at South Carolina. He did have some really good games there, but I mean, he started in the NFL last year.
But isn't this this Elite 11? Isn't it a lot of throwing on air type stuff?
Yes, but they do have wide receivers that go and catch.
Yeah. But is there coverages?
Oh no, I don't. Unless they've changed
the last
things.
Day,
they do.
Yeah, the last day is a 7-on-7 where they do they basically run. To my understanding, again, I haven't been out there, and I consider going this year, but just too much uncertainty. But there was they do a 7-on-7 where they bring DBs in and they run real 7-on stuff. But I mean, again, you're not under pressure. You're not worried about getting hit.
There's just
it's different.
There's a lot of stuff you can't simulate that makes a great quarterback at these events. And yes, a lot of those guys that we've mentioned have unbelievable arm talent, and those guys are typically the ones that win these type of competitions because their arm is just phenomenal. That doesn't mean that they're going to go be a great quarterback. They have the tools. It's the Jackson Arnold argument.
Yeah, that's
Jackson
the perfect
Arnold
one.
is an incredible ball thrower. He can absolutely sling it with the best of them. But can he read a defense? Can he make the big throw under pressure? Can he lead the offense down the field? On a game-winning drive. Those are the big questions that it's hard to get. And it's nothing against Elite 11. It's just hard to take a whole lot of stock in, oh, well, so-and-so won the Elite 11. That's totally different than going and winning a football game on the road at you name it in the SEC.
By the way, here's a funny roster. From 2015, you had both Austin Kendall and Jalen Hurts at the Elite 11 competing against each other.
I wonder who finished higher.
I mean, it might have been Kendall.
That's what I'm saying. Based on the results that we know.
Oh boy!
People because of what they remember now of Austin Kendall, forget that Austin Kendall was a big recruiting win. That was a big deal.
How about this counselor staff that year? Our guy, I think, from the very first Rivals 5-star, Christian Hackenberg.
Oh, he was working on the staff.
He was the counselor. Yeah, he was helping out.
Christian Hackenberg could sling it back in the day.
Joshua Dobbs was there.
Damn.
Carson Wentz, and one Deshaun Watson.
You want proof, though, that the Elite 11 can get it wrong? The MVP was Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. That's all we have to say. Don't take any of this stuff too seriously, because clearly we all accept that Trevor Lawrence was a much better prospect.
It's kind of Josh. I know you're trolling.
It's a big year for Trevor Lawrence. He's got to figure his shit out.
For both those guys. Neither one of them. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence has had some good years, but he's on the verge of kind of losing, people losing faith in him.
Justin Fields, is he got to start for the Jets? Is that the plan?
Oh, God.
That's
I think it is the plan.
Jets, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think they have another plan.
Oh, God. Tate Martell was there,
Listen to
too.
the 2016 roster.
That's what I'm
Miles
on.
Brennan.
That's what I'm on.
Sean Clifford, Tommy DeVito, Sam Ellinger, Jake Fromm, Hunter Johnson, Tate Martell, Dylan McCaffrey, Davis Mills, Chris Robinson, Jack Sears, and Tua Tagovailoa. Tua is the only guy who was a truly relevant player. Oh, it's Sam. That's not fair to Sam Ellinger.
I was going to say, Deshaun Watson had to be back as counselor that year, and he was, along with Josh Dobbs.
So we need to be watching all of these guys because, hurt people hurt people? Is that what we should be?
I would love to know the stat of how many quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round that were not invited to Elite 11 over the last 10 years. Like Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
But I'm trying to think of guys that have
Baker
gone. Was like
I don't know, Baker wasn't invited.
Kenny Pickett?
I mean, yeah, he went to the regional.
Yeah. Did Kyler make it? Kyler made it to the Elite 11, I would think.
Yeah, he would have been there for sure.
Kenny Pickett?
Unless he was playing baseball. He might have been playing baseball that summer.
Well, but that
I'm saying invited. If they
I got you.
Let's see. So, because Kyler would have been, I'd be shocked even if he was playing baseball if he wouldn't have missed that. Kyler Murray. Yeah, he was there. Same year as like Drew Lock, Josh Rosen, Ricky Town. Oh my God, Ricky Town. I hadn't thought of that name in a long time. There's some walks down the lane here. Yeah, Deshaun Watson didn't win Elite 11 MVP. He was beaten out that year by Shaun White, who went to Auburn.
I remember that dude. He played against OU, didn't he?
I believe he played in that bowl in that
bowl game. Didn't he get replaced or something?
Who?
Shaun White for Auburn.
For Auburn? That kind of sounds right.
Or maybe he was hurt and he didn't play. But he was definitely, I'm pretty sure he was on that roster. And I think he played in that game.
It's crazy because, even in a shitty year, where they'll really have a bad roster, there's always one guy. I'm looking at 2012, and you're like, dog. And then you're like, Jared Goff. Oh, okay, that works. that one's pretty good.
Auburn in the Sugar Bowl, they had not one, not two, not three, but 4 different people throw a pass in that game.
Yeah.
Shaun White was a glorious 4 for 10 for 35 yards. Jeremy Johnson, I believe, was the starter.
Yeah.
He was 5 for 9 for 93 yards.
But I'm looking here, Bo Nix, he would have been, I think he was Elite 11. He's first rounder.
He was.
J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr.
Definitely would have been.
Drake May. Bryce Young definitely was. C.J. Stroud won it. I mean, he was the MVP.
I bet Anthony Richardson wasn't.
I bet he wasn't either. Anyway,
one thing, kind of a Dan Mullen special.
One thing quarterback wise that is happening is the Manning Academy.
Real quick.
Yeah.
In talking about
Bowe Bentley.
Bowe,
yeah.
Steve Wiltfong did put something on the Crimson Quarter. I know we talked about it during the recruiting report, but it seems like when you're talking about a decision for Bowe Bentley, maybe the longer it goes, the TLDR from Steve Wiltfong was, the longer that this goes, maybe the better it is for Oklahoma. And talking about getting out of the LSU trip without making any decision, as well as the Oklahoma trip.
Yeah.
So I guess you could work it both ways.
Well, and Steve actually just put up like something fairly recently here. I need to look at the exact timestamp on it. Like with Bowe basically said, I want to go home, look over a few more things, and then make a decision. So any thought that he's going to do this at the Elite 11, I don't think that's the plan. I think we talked about that. Like that doesn't fit what we know of Bowe Bentley anyway. So that doesn't surprise me in any huge way. But I know, and again, I'll absolutely own that I had fed that conversation that maybe he was going to pull the trigger and then come back from Elite 11 and go to OU's Champion Barbecue. I think that's definitely not happening. He's not going to be at either OU or LSU this weekend.
By the way, Josh, I've thought of something when we were sitting there watching Jaden O'Neal at OU's camp, and you and I were standing at Saline High School on the sideline, and I remembered asking you, like, if you put Bowe Bentley and Jaden O'Neal on the same field and had them throw, do you think that Jaden O'Neal would look, I think that was phrased like, do you think Jaden O'Neal would look a lot better? And you were like, absolutely. He looks physically better. He throws the ball better. Like, the way he, just the velocity and everything. And when I saw him live, throwing at OU's camp, I was like, you're exactly right. Because if you put Bowe Bentley and Jaden O'Neal next to each other, the things that Ben Arbuckle likes about Bowe Bentley have nothing to do with size or velocity or any of that. It's the things that he likes between the ears with Bowe Bentley, I would say.
I get guys, and I'd ask you, I feel like I've been pretty fair to Jaden O'Neal. Like, I get the impression that maybe some people have the impression I've been hard on him or something. I think Jaden O'Neal's super talented. Like, I've always felt that way.
He looks fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he does.
Yes. Like, if you were building a quarterback prototype, it'd look a lot like Jaden O'Neal. Like, big guy, long arms, he's mobile, he can move. Like, I like so much of his game. I just think the way Ben Arbuckle wants to run his offense, I think Bowe Bentley is a near perfect model. And, Carey, you can attest to this. When we went to Salina, if Jaden O'Neal was on Salina's roster, you would know exactly who you were looking at the second you saw him.
Yeah.
That's Jaden O'Neal.
It
I'm not
took you a
even
minute.
saying, obviously, but, you take color out of it. Like, you just, said, okay, this is the body type we're talking about. Bowe could have been one of 10 guys. He's 6 foot, 6'1", 190 pounds. Like, it's not like he's a bad looking athlete. I don't want to put it that way at all.
He made some great
but he's a lot
throws,
like Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't, physically, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh. Like, it's not like that. It's just, man, he's really good when the lights go on. And that's a better quality. I'd rather have that. And I think that's kind of what we're getting at here with Oklahoma. That's where they're focused. And again, that's not a shot at Jaden O'Neal. That's just, I think one guy fits OU's current scheme better than the other does.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. It's like we talk about with the NFL, and we talk about Nagy and their evaluators. It's like you watch those two throw passes side by side. It's a no-brainer. Like, this guy has more talent than Jaden O'Neal, but the NFL tries to do that all the time, like Jimmy Garoppolo's of the world, and it doesn't. There's a reason why Tom Brady was drafted so low and ended up. By the way, did you see the thing the other day? I think it was Gerald McCoy. Like, they had Tom Brady was standing next to, good Lord, Bills quarterback,
Josh Allen,
and he was introducing his dad. I see your smirk. It's not an OU player, okay? I'm allowed to pass.
Get through this. We'll get you your pills in an hour.
Anyway, but he was standing right next to him and literally looked half a head taller than Josh Allen.
Who's it? Who?
Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady's massive.
Yeah,
he's massive dude.
And Gerald McCoy was like, "This is what I try and tell you people. Like, these guys that play in the NFL, they are mutants. They are freaks. Like, you don't." And we know this. We see it. it's just like with PJ. I mean, it's like I think you called him a mutant a lot since you've seen him in person. But
yes.
It's like it's just not normal. There's nothing to compare what some of these guys and their size is like.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Sports are all about teamwork, and so is insurance. Whether you need an in-person or digital assist, State Farm is there to help you choose the right coverage for your home, car, and more. Get a game plan that helps fit your life and talk to State Farm today. State Farm with the assist. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
Well, because an average guy on OU's roster looks like nobody most people have ever seen in person. Like you take a guy that's just a good looking, like, I was going to say a name, but it's going to end up like me trying to rip on him again, and that's not what I want to do. Take like Sammy Omasigo, an incredible athlete, like amazing. In OU's roster, guys, would he rank in like the top 15 guys that you're just like, holy shit, like that guy is a
just get off the
anomaly
bus?
of human development.
No, he does. He
like
does.
That.
No, I'm Josh. I'm telling you, when you see him, he looks like Corey Nelson used to look like. His biceps are like most people's thighs. I mean, it's ridiculous how much bigger he's gotten.
Like I'm not. I saw him at camp. Like, I mean, I know how impressive he is. I'm just saying, even at OU, there are guys you see that you're just like, that guy's just different. Even amongst all these incredible athletes that would be the best athlete that you or I or anybody else ever played high school football against, there's a different class even within that group where you're like, well, that guy is like PJ. I've never seen anything that looks like PJ, defensive end at OU. The whole time I've covered OU, I've never seen anybody that looks like him.
But it also kind of shows you that that's not everything. Because PJ would be a first-team All-SEC guy if just size and build, like Baker. Baker is surviving in the NFL, and he is the most, when you meet him in person, he is the most average-looking guy, in terms of just he's not super tall. There's nothing that really stands out about him, yet he's going out there on Sundays and just destroying people some weeks. And that's the Bowe Bentley. Absolutely. I'm trying to get back to the Bowe Bentley part. Like, that's why, there can be a difference between a guy that throws so much harder and is taller and, runs better. And it's not always about that.
Especially at that position.
Yeah.
Especially at that position where it's so mental. And again, God, I hate it. Like, I hate that no matter how I frame this, it sounds like I'm shitting on somebody, and that's just not what it is. I'm just saying there's differences between the two guys, and I think they have different strengths. And
I really just think it is, we kind of, shifted through the bullshit and said what we knew, which was Ben Arbuckle's choice is Bowe Bentley over, because he didn't recruit him, he didn't commit to him, and for whatever reason, it's gone the way it's gone. And who knows? Maybe Jaden O'Neal still ends up as the quarterback at Oklahoma. I mean, that's still a possibility.
And it's a good outcome for Oklahoma. Like, if that's the low end of your possibilities, that's incredible. Like that to fall into that, that's great. But again, like I think in actions and the things we see, things we hear, it's clear Bentley is where their focus has been for a while now.
All right, we talked a little bit about Schmitty. You guys don't have to mess with Schmitty to get better shape or to feel your best. Getting ready to see our guy Will Douglas tonight up at the Jim Nagy thing in Dallas. But he has CodyDrugRx.com. And if you're looking for more energy, better focus, or just want to stay ahead of the game, check out NAD Plus injections from Cody Drug. You can also get it in the spray that you spray in your nose. But Cody Drug custom compounds everything in their state-of-the-art sterile lab, including specialized medications for men's health, weight loss, anti-aging, and even more. They also love working with Oklahoma med spas and clinics, so if you're in healthcare, they're ready to team up. That's CodyDrugRx.com. Also, go check out their Instagram page at CodyDrugRx. Will does a great job of talking about maybe any ailments you may have and what you could do, and you can always just contact him and say, look, I'm fatigued throughout the day. What can I take? What would you give me? Or I'm having trouble sleeping. What would you recommend? And he knows all that stuff. So go to CodyDrugRx.com. Check in with Will. Josh is using him as well for some of his stuff, and just a great company, and appreciate their support. And speaking of, figuring out quarterbacks and trying to have the foresight and the vision to pick the right guy, it helps when you have perfect vision like Eddie Radosevich.
It does, and it also helps to keep up with current events. And if you've been keeping up with the current events, you would have read that Greta Thunberg had been kidnapped while in the international waters by Israel. That's not the case. That was our good friends at Enjoy Vision. They went and picked her up because she was looking to get perfect vision for the summer, which I think is kind of cool. What the good friends over at Enjoy Vision are doing right now, they're giving you $600 off LASIK during the summer of LASIK. Huh? Just how big is $600? Even bigger than Baker's 598 yards against Oklahoma State. Summer won't last forever, Greta, so don't pass up this opportunity to snag $600 in LASIK savings from Enjoy Vision. Schedule your free consultation today at Summer of LASIK. That is summeroflasik.com. Enjoy Vision. This is where Suitor Scoop LASIKs.
Now I'm torn. What was the worst thing said on this pod? My opening or that?
What?
Your opening.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You knew where George was going.
I mean, we have a world championship
George sounds a little pissed off.
I am. If they lose tomorrow, you know who to blame.
By the way, that was a question mark. There was no question mark.
There was no question mark.
Because you two freaked out.
Mark.
I'm getting back to this one, and then when it's over with, I'm letting it go. You two started freaking out before I could even finish and get to the World Championship.
Well, that's
not how it was
terrible.
Termed. It was just World Championship.
Well, no one will know because both of you were screaming over me when I was saying it.
Because it got scary. So. It got scary. Listen, I will shed blood for this country as well as this state if we win a world title.
Well, you're going to be climbing up poles.
Got to try. I might. I've took radio off Friday morning, so it's full throttled into Thursday evening. Already discussing maybe meeting up at a local establishment in the late afternoon hours for the 7:30 tip-off. It's going to be primed.
So watching it in public, huh?
Yeah. I've watched a couple in public.
Okay, I didn't realize
Gone up to the Jones. I'm 0-2 at the Jones, which I did retire from bingo last week. I was expecting to have my my jersey lifted into the rafters of the patio.
There seems to be a lot of bad juju here going on, Eddie. Because
what do you mean?
He's worse than me right now.
You could argue taking off radio already on Friday.
Well, I needed
radio, and also going to the place that you're already 0-2.
I'm not going
at.
to the Jones.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to the Jones.
I thought you were saying you're going back.
No, I'm 0-2. That's what I was saying. I'm 0-2 at the Jones, so we're probably going to mix it up.
Yeah,
might head over to the SIP, Topanga Lounge.
That's a
get
good
back
place.
to my people.
The Oak. I watched the game at the Oak the other night.
It looked awesome.
It was fun.
We got a lot of things popping right now in Oklahoma City.
Well, when they demolish, the old Paycom, you'll have an even better place to.
Yeah, they're supposed to kind of build a entertainment district around that area, so could be kind of cool.
Modeling it kind of after the deer, what do they call it, the deer park or whatever?
Deer Park or something like
Milwaukee?
that. And, never been to Milwaukee. I've heard it's a great town, though.
The Fonz.
He was from Milwaukee.
Wisconsin? Yeah, okay. Was that Milwaukee? Yeah.
There's a statue of him in Milwaukee.
I've never been. Yeah.
Of the Fonz. I've taken a picture with it.
It'd be kind of cool if OU scheduled a home-and-home someday with Wisconsin. I'd love to go to
stay there? And
the
did
bounce.
you go to any games at Lambeau? Did you cover any games there?
No. It was like when I was a kid. My dad had like a company meeting there and took the whole family, and we stayed in Milwaukee for like a week.
Is he an owner?
An owner?
Packers.
Of the Packers?
Oh, no.
How was the bachelor party?
It's awesome. Great time.
I like the little springs thing that you guys were hanging out in. That looked
Barton
cool.
Springs Pool was very fun, very refreshing. That was a good time. We watched the Thunder game Friday night in Austin, and everybody's a big Thunder fan, so that was fun to watch Game 4. And then Saturday night got a little out of control. Went to this place called Denata. It's the strongest margaritas I've ever had. Just absolutely put everyone on their ass. So it was a good time. No go-karts. unfortunately.
That was
But,
good. I'm glad you didn't do go-karts.
Did you run into the Rainy Street Ripper?
No, but we did talk about that. A lot of my friends would have been screwed because he
Is that the person that kills the homeless people?
No, he is.
He's just killing everybody.
It's just a myth, but
well, it's not. I mean, there's been dead bodies, but people think that there's a serial killer.
yeah, and he's
Austin.
targeting 25 to 40-year-old single men in Austin, which would have been pretty much my entire bachelor party.
Did you ask if you could just borrow the ring for the weekend just so you were extra safe while you were there?
I didn't. I did not do that. Would have been
If you
smart.
got a ring on, George, I mean, you're not part of the problem anymore.
That would have been smart. I just made the assumption that they would assume that I am the bachelor, that I am the one that's getting married.
At that point, you're still single, buddy. You're still single.
All right. I don't know. Where else would you guys like to go today? I mean, is there anything just spanking new recruiting-wise, Josh, that we need to hit on?
No, I mean, well, I guess we obviously have to talk about the weekend. I mean, with the visitors coming in this weekend.
Barbecue weekend.
And they just got to commit, 2 days ago.
Yes, the running back.
Yes, that seems like a long time ago. I don't know why. I haven't had that much going on. But, perfect place to start. George, well done. DeZephen Walker, the running back commitment that Oklahoma landed. Guys, watching his tape, really the only knock I can come up with for the guy is speed's not elite. Like, I mean, you look at him. I went and found some of his track times. I saw, like mid-low 11s in the 100 meters. So, like, not a 4.4 type of guy or anything like that. But he runs fine. But when you look at him, and guys, I had some people ask me, like, well, this doesn't fit Nagy's model, does it? And I think there's a point to that makes some sense. But what I will say is I've heard him make comments, and I think some of it even predated his time at Oklahoma, where he's talked about how overrated 40 time is for running backs, like how much that's just not – because, at the and he was speaking of it very much from an NFL level, but it's also existent in the SEC to a lesser degree. You're playing against a caliber athlete, you're very rarely going to be running 40 yards. Like, you're very rarely going to get in that kind of space. How often can you make 8 yards into 15 yards or 4 yards into 7 yards? Like, that kind of stuff where you're a good decision maker, you've got good vision. I've heard him talk about contact balance a lot. And that's something I do see on DeZephen's tape. Like, he is really very good at taking a hit, rolling with it, moving in a different direction, and really never seeming like he's lost, that center of gravity. He stays very low and, again, just has great balance in the way he runs. So I think actually, with the exception of, probably some of the 40 times, again, I've never seen him run a 40. I don't know the exact time. I just have the 100-meter stuff to go off of. So I think people might assume that he's a guy that doesn't fit their model, but I actually think he kind of does based on some things that Nagy has said through the, last couple of years that I've been listening.
Josh, in terms of the weekend, what does that look like for Oklahoma? Obviously, this has kind of become a massive weekend for Oklahoma from a recruiting standpoint with the barbecue, but who are the names to look for this weekend that Oklahoma fans, not necessarily that they could commit, but maybe high priority targets?
Yeah, I would say, we'll start with two guys that I've got predictions in for, and that's we won't start with the kicker. That seems cruel, kind of a tease to everybody. But Bowe Bentley, the brother of Nico from Chandler Hamilton, a guy, and guys, I know people because he's not super highly rated right now, and because he's the brother of a guy already committed. I think there's a desire to take that commitment less seriously. I can flat out tell you, I talked to a Power 4 linebackers coach about a month ago who thinks he might be the best inside linebacker in the country. They think he is incredible. Just absolutely love him and think he is wildly undervalued. And again, you look at the schools that are heavy on Bowe Bentley, it's Oklahoma, Oregon, and Texas.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range? The 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins? It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at Polestar.com.
Guys, if you want to not, if people want to oh, well, where's OU at right now? Okay, fine. Oregon and Texas have been in the playoff last year. We're not talking about schools that, and have gigantic NIL budgets. They can go after anybody they want to go after, and they're hard after this kid. So I think that tells you a lot about where some guys like Dan Lanning, like Pete Kwiatkowski, and obviously like Brent Venables, who know what linebackers look like, that's where they see this guy. They want him bad. The other guy I've already got a prediction in for is Trace Rudd, the kicker from Overland Park, Kansas. I won't sit here and talk to you at the same length because he's a kicker. I'm told he's good. That's about what I know. So I'm not going to pretend for more. Where I think this weekend is really interesting is along the defensive line. The high-level guy that everybody's going to want to talk about is Jake Krull from Bradenton IMG Academy. Now, he was supposed to be coming in with his IMG teammate, Will Conroy. Obviously, that's not likely to happen, as we've already discussed. So you have Jake Krull, you have Valdon Sone, you have Taj Overton from Owasso, Brian Harris, the defensive lineman commitment from Florida, and DeAnthony Lafayette from Orlando that is good friends and longtime friends with Jake Krull. So I would guess pretty shortly after this weekend, we're going to have a pretty good idea what the defensive line class is going to look like. I think it's going to start to really come into focus. I still think there's some things happening with KJ Ford kind of in the, and I'm going to watch that a little bit. I'm not certain. I've heard talk that, maybe his USC visit will get changed for Ohio State this weekend. There's even, we'll see. I don't know what the story is with him. But they are also, like I said, Taj Overton, a guy they've been in on for a long time, already, have the commitment of Brian Harris. And then obviously at defensive end, they've got Matthew Nelson already on board. So they've got a good framework, but now you need to start closing some of these guys. And if you can get Jake Krull on board, that's going to help you with DeAnthony Lafayette. And Lafayette reminds me a lot, guys, of R. Mason Thomas, kind of a smaller, super explosive pass rusher that I think Oklahoma kind of saw and was like, again, we talk about the Nagy model. It's just like we were talking about with quarterbacks. Sometimes I don't care if you're 6'4", if you can get after the quarterback, if you can affect the pocket the way this guy can. And I want to say he had 18 sacks in his junior year. So this is a guy that can absolutely create pressure. And if he's helping you get Jake Krull, if your defensive end class is Jake Krull, DeAnthony Lafayette, and Matthew Nelson, man, it's really hard to be displeased with that.
I'm so curious, if people, with all the stuff that's happened this last couple of weeks with the camps and stuff, I think the one thing in recruiting that's the most confusing probably for the casual fan is what guy is 2026 and what guy is 2027. And it's just crazy. And on top of that, you've got guys, switching and let me ask you, because I don't remember if you've addressed this on the recruiting reports, but what were your thoughts on Booker T. Washington, the Graves kid, going to IMG? And what's your feel on how that plays with Oklahoma recruiting him? Is it something that could help them because they've been there? Is it something that could hurt them because now he's further away from home and other schools will be coming in probably?
I don't think you could argue that it helps. I don't know that it hurts because Joseph has a good relationship with Todd Bates. And Oklahoma's been on him since really early on, and they'll be very active. And IMG has a good relationship with OU, with Brent Venables, with Todd Bates, the whole 9 yards. And again, you look at Jaden Jackson, you look at David Stone. They've done a good job at IMG. So I think it'll be okay. I really do. And for kind of to what your initial point was, Joseph's a 2027 guy, so Oklahoma has time to kind of let that ground settle. And for those also, I guess I should note, this past weekend on Sunday at midnight was the first time coaches could start calling 2027 recruits. So that contact kind of opened back up, and that's why you've seen a few new offers go out. OU made an offensive line offer in Kansas to a guy named Gus Corsair that camped last summer and we liked, and I know is a guy that OU has really been interested in for a while. And in talking to Gus, he actually mentioned that Nagy went over his tape and kind of came, to Biedenbow was like, yeah, we're good with this guy. If you like this guy, we like this guy. And so I think that was kind of where you see some collaboration between the coaching staff and the front office group kind of working together on some of these offers. And I think that'll only get cleaner as you get into 27 and 28 recruiting, where, the front office can work in the way it wants to, where it's kind of the front line and kind of almost like a like a colander, like kind of weeding out the guys that, okay, coach, you don't need to spend time on this guy. Like you don't need to worry about this guy. He's not going to fit what you want, but we've got these 20 interior offensive linemen. You figure out who you like from this group and we'll move forward, that kind of stuff. So I think you can look at that kind of starting to get more streamlined going forward. But yeah, and I should say, I sometimes I assume too much and I just don't want to. Anybody coming in this weekend, anybody that we're talking about as official visits ever, is going to be a senior in high school. Like that is the only way official visits happen. So I just want to be clear about that. So if there's any confusion, all these guys, the Jake Krull, the Taj Overtons, Jaden O'Neal, Jaden O'Neal's still on the books for this weekend. That's going to be an interesting thing. I've heard that FSU visit went really well. I know they've landed a few commitments out of last weekend when he was on campus. I guess if I'm not mistaken, I think Jaden showed up on Saturday or Sunday, which makes sense because he was in Norman on Friday. And then, so he was there for some of the weekend, for the full weekend with Florida State, and then I think actually was still there Monday, kind of spending time with the players, or with the coaching staff, I'm sorry.
All right. George, anything that's popping up in your world of interest?
I'm trying to fix our lawn. Not
football related or sports or OU related?
No, not really.
You're just buying yard tools is all you're doing.
Yes, I'm trying to take care of the lawn, and
you need to have Zooms with Josh, just on the side, so Eddie and I don't have to listen.
I'll talk it out with you.
There's just a lot of
hire it out.
Weeds and crabgrass in this lawn that I've taken over, and I think it's a little too late now into the summer to fix it, but I'm trying my best, and that's basically what's been on my mind lately. But there's not a whole lot of it's that time of year where it's like we got to get to media days, July 16th, and that's when things start getting more interesting.
Your wedding's going to be first. I'm sure Aaron will love
July 12th. Well, you asked me about football.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got a lot on my plate in terms of winning a championship, possibly a wedding, getting married, and then we shift our focus to football. But right now, it's just not like I had a mailbag question this week that's like, who's standing out in summer workouts? It's like, well, everybody's having a great summer, I'm sure.
That's all you need to say.
I know.
And then just make up this one guy and just throw it out there. And he's doing fantastic.
Yeah. I did have a good question. Somebody asked me, who's one guy this spring that you thought, man, physically they're not there yet, but if they had a great summer, maybe they could be a contributor?
Taylor Heim.
I thought he was physically
that's a
there.
good one.
I think he's physically
He's
there.
just skinny. He needs some weight.
I was thinking more like freshman that you're like, oh, okay, like a Cortland Guillory or a Manny Choice. I
kind of think he's in there. What about
Trent Wilson?
Yes, Trent Wilson.
Yeah.
Like he could add depth, I think, if he's ready.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he is.
And that's a spot on defensive line that you have to be physically. Like Jaden Jackson came in physically
makes it so
ready.
Incredible what Jaden Jackson was able to do a year ago.
Yeah.
That's a unicorn. Like you're not going to get somebody that you didn't expect to be a freshman All-American.
Right.
2 years in a row, I wouldn't think. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I think like we talked about Elijah. I mean, Thomas. I mean, he can still make some gains.
But I think he already.
I think he's in that ready group, right?
Yeah, he does seem ready.
I think more like a Manny Choice is somebody that you look at and you say, okay, if he put on 10 more pounds this summer, he could also be in that same category. Torrey Blaylock.
What about a Marion Robinson?
we just never heard much of him. No other players mentioned him during interviews, which that's usually when you know somebody is coming on. Like,
I want to say he got mentioned maybe once in the one time that we talked to Reggie Powers, possibly.
Jaden Hardy, I think.
Or was it Jaden Hardy? Yeah, okay, it might have been Jaden Hardy.
The problem with O'Marion is it's more like, and this is not his fault, but it's just a position where you feel like you already have a bunch of guys that are, ready to go, where it's Robert Spears-Jennings, Peyton Bowen, Jaden Hardy, Michael Boganowski, and then you start getting to, an O'Marion Robinson.
One guy that I don't think we've talked a lot about it, just because you never see a lot of, activity with these guys at the viewing sessions we go to, but I was impressed with how much Xavier Robinson kind of changed his body since last season, just leaning up a little bit. He didn't look like that frumpy.
I don't know. He looked bigger to me, but like in a good way.
Yeah, like not as saggy, not as young, like physically developing. I don't know. That's Josh's territory to talk about how people look physically. I'm not comfortable with it. Yes,
but these are the type of off-season discussions that have been going through my brain. It's just hard until we get to see these guys, and it just every day there's a new John Mateer hype video or hype.
Wasn't today
podcast?
I called everybody out for Slack for.
Who was it this week? Todd McShay.
Todd McShay did a in-deep draft report on him.
Jake Dickard had that quote that was out on the social media as I retweeted it, talking about John Mateer. I mean, the hype train continues. It's gonna be fun to see if he can live up to these expectations. Because don't think for a second that I just an OU fan out there that takes in all of this content. They've been told that this guy's really fucking good. He better be really good.
And I think too, it's interesting because I've seen some people say, "Well, OU fans said Jackson Arnold was going to be great too." I don't remember the Jackson Arnold hype getting to maybe this level. It was high,
not from a national media perspective. I think that we were having conversations that this guy could be really good.
I think so, but even after the spring, I think we did dial it back a little bit.
I think the Jackson thing, though, I mean, it was more about, okay, Dylan Gabriel had some limitations.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold isn't going to have those limitations because he's taller, he's got a bigger arm, but he obviously wasn't the quarterback Dylan Gabriel was.
Yeah.
It'll be... Go ahead, Josh.
I had somebody, kind of related but unrelated. I had somebody ask me in board chat, I'd be interested in your take. If OU lands Jackson Dart a couple years ago, when they were so close, it was going to be him and Gabriel both coming in, the whole thing. Do you think that changes anything in the last couple years? I'm not that high on Jackson Dart, so I wonder if I'm just negative about that. I don't know what he changes, because I don't think he outplays Gabriel, and I don't think he fixes last year's problems that were well beyond just a quarterback.
I mean, we say that, but then you go back and you look at, I think Jackson Dart's good enough for 2 or 3 wins.
Well, if he would have come in...
I'm very high on Jackson Dart.
I love... this is the wrong conversation, because I think Jackson Dart's going to be awesome.
If he would have come in with Gabriel, if they were both in at the same time, I think Jackson Dart would have transferred because Dylan Gabriel was going to play over him because he was Levy's guy. But the better question would be if you were to switch out Jackson Dart and Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart was the starter over Dylan, I think things would have been different because I think Jackson's talent is higher. And also, you're not starting Jackson Arnold last year. You're starting Jackson Dart. And I think that you have, not a ton, not like you're going to the playoff last year, but you probably have some more success.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with Eddie though. I'm very high.
But at the same time, does Jackson Dart do what Dylan did? And when Levy leaves, Jackson also leaves. Dart.
He could have went to Mississippi State with him.
Or Mississippi State or anywhere in the country. I think it would have been a very similar result in a lot of ways the first 2 years, and then that third year it would totally depend on if he would stick around or not.
That's fair.
Just like last year, if Dylan Gabriel stays last year instead of Jackson Arnold, it would have been a totally different year.
Yeah, if the question is if Jackson Dart would have been the starter for the last 3 years at Oklahoma, and you're just flat out answering, do I think it would have been better? I think the answer is yes.
Yes, I would agree.
A lot of variables, though.
Even though Dylan was very good in 2023.
Dylan was a lot better than people probably want to remember.
I would just say Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart, Jackson Arnold, they all would have had a rough year last year with that offensive line.
But they would have won. Yeah. Here's the thing. I still think, though, with Dylan or Jackson Dart, they would have won at least one, maybe two more games than they did.
Yeah.
They're beating Missouri.
They would have beaten Missouri. Yeah.
Who knows what happens against South Carolina? That thing got off the track so
bad. Do they beat Alabama?
I think
does Jackson Dart run like Jackson Arnold did? I don't think he does.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, Jalen Milroe handed him 2 touchdowns as well in that game.
That's fair.
I mean,
that's fair.
I more question, like, could they have beat Tennessee? Could they have beat Ole Miss? South Carolina. Like, could they still won more of those? And then obviously you win the Missouri game. All of a sudden you win 8 games. You probably win the Navy game, which wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have played Navy, but
right.
You definitely would have won more games.
There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
But then you don't have John Mateer.
You might.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do you fire Seth Littrell if you win?
Yeah, because Seth Littrell doesn't get fired.
Like it's
okay. I see where you're going.
It's a really tough question.
Who cares? None of this matters.
You said it. It's not about who cares. It's June.
It's June. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But
never say nobody cares in the middle of June.
That's fair. Everybody cares. But the main point being is
okay, I don't care. How about that?
Well, you have to be a contrarian, so
I'm not being contrarian.
Yeah, you are.
The main point is John Mateer, can he live up to these expectations that are just, they feel like they get bigger every day?
Yeah, I hate the idea that it's going to be us that gets blamed, like you built him up.
I would say at this point, we're the ones saying, hey, pump the brakes.
All we're saying is we think the offense is going to be better this year.
Which is not a high bar.
That Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer will be a lot better this year than what we saw last year.
Accurate.
That's a limb even strong enough that even my big ass can stand on.
All 4 of us can stand on it.
That doesn't. That doesn't mean that they're going to be a top 5 offense in the country. We're just saying they're going to be capable. Honestly, the one thing I keep coming back to is the defense going to be as good as it was last year? Because I don't think that's a given.
I agree.
Does that feel like that's changed? Like, I feel like back in January, everybody's like, well, the defense is going to be
everybody kept saying it, but I never really believed it. It's like everybody just kept saying, well, they're going to be fine with Brent, running the defense, and they're going to keep on chugging along. They lost 2 really good players that were the heart of that defense.
I think the part that makes you feel good about the defense is the defensive line, because it should be the best they've had in a long time. And if it is, then that doesn't just fix everything, but it sure as hell makes everybody's
life easier for sure.
Does anybody want to apologize to me for like a month ago me saying I thought you had the best D-line in the SEC? And I got some looks on this podcast. I got some side eye. And now Cole Kubelik's on board with me. Like, we're getting people buying.
I just don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the other team's defensive lines to be like, oh, it's the best. I
mean, South Carolina lost a lot. I mean, Ole Miss lost a lot.
But what I do know, Josh, is it's the best OU defensive line that they've had in
Tennessee lost a lot.
Long time.
2009. I mean, probably that McCoy, Beal, the Adrian Taylor, that whole
before
group
he got hurt
would be my guess. Yeah, I mean, obviously
the crazy thing.
What was Austin English's last year?
I think that's right.
When was Austin English's? Probably like 2000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
9ish. 2008.
Because he was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. He wasn't postseason, but I mean, people forget about Austin English.
Was his last year.
Yeah,
so
he would have
been. Let's see, I guess would that have been redshirt sophomore? Because he finished out his redshirt sophomore year. He had 13 tackles for loss and 9.5 sacks in 2007.
He was amazing.
That is salty.
And he's like the most forgotten defensive star, probably in the modern era, in the Stoops post era, Stoops and after Stoops.
Do you think that's kind of because that's about when Beal emerged and really became like OU's best pass rusher?
Yeah. I just think he had kind of a down. I think he had some injuries and he just didn't have a good ending to his career. The best part of his career was middle to early. And who knows, maybe all that pressure of being, defensive player of the year in the preseason.
Yeah, his senior year was now he played 2 less games that year than the previous 2. but it was easily his worst statistically.
Very good. All right. So they did release the SEC basketball schedule today. He's a little under the weather right now. But he had to go to urgent care today, but he's going to be okay, we believe. But they did have the schedule released, and he even got a story up on there. He's a lot stronger than some of my other coworkers that called in sick this morning at the radio station.
Damn.
Well, we'll take shots. I'm not relaying this. Anyway, but yeah, the basketball stuff, I'm just trying to look at. The women's is also released for next season, George, but I know you wrote about that one. What was the one thing that really stood out there with the women's basketball?
They get South Carolina and LSU at home this year. I'm pretty sure it's the same schedule as last year, just kind of flipped. I think.
Tennessee at home.
Yeah, they have to go to Texas, which this last year they got Texas at home. So, I mean, it's a brutal schedule. There's no...
Kentucky's away, yeah.
No easy way around it, so...
Texas.
Looks like men's basketball will host Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Missouri, Texas, and Texas A&M. And they will go on the road to Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt.
Might have to go to Rupp.
Be cool.
That'd be sweet.
By the way, I noticed seems like Texas A&M is landing all the softball transfer portals that are left.
A&M?
Yeah.
I mean Tech?
Texas A&M, no.
Oh.
Like they've started landing.
I know Texas Tech.
I couldn't tell you one thing.
I don't know how good they are, but there were like 2 or 3 that just got announced. Well, they got Maya
Bland.
Maya Bland, right? Did she pick A&M?
Yeah, she committed to them this morning. Outside of that, I haven't seen anything.
Oh boy, big news!
Really?
No.
OU will be striping the stadium against Michigan.
Don't care.
All right. F you too.
I mean, do you care? You
No.
don't care.
No, I
you
don't
don't care. I know you don't care. What's your favorite? Mine's Band Day against Illinois State.
All I know is they cannot do.
Why are they announcing this stuff?
They can't do a whiteout again. They're
cares?
so atrocious.
They're
last
trying
year.
to get every opportunity they can to promote single ticket sales, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, don't do it this way.
And by the way, single ticket sales are out there. So
They would do a better job of just like tweeting a video of John Mateer highlights and just saying, "Bye, come watch this guy."
Come.
Yes.
Please come.
See, now, George, that's a mixed message because you were just talking about all the John Mateer hype, and now you're just saying throw more gas on that fire.
Well, yeah,
Just
they
do more.
You should. I'm not saying we should.
No, fair enough.
What?
Fair enough.
With all due respect, the Auburn game is just, it just says, wear crimson.
Yeah.
Okay, so just show up? Is that what people normally do? God bless them.
And he's beefing with the promotions department.
No, there is no beef. If I need to be put down for like either side, if I care or not care, please make sure that you put me down for don't care.
Let Leah Beasley come over here and smack you around.
What game last year was the stripe game? I don't remember that.
Tennessee, I think.
Was it Tennessee?
Yeah, I think it was.
An L.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like week of where people start talking about
I'll
that.
remind everybody the week of, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's I'm going to be really interested, and I guess that some people have started submitting some of these NIL deals to the College Sports Commission or whatever it is, and I'm going to be really curious what happens with softball. Because there's a part of me that thinks they're going to take it easy on women's sports and just kind of like breeze stuff through that they're going to give a harder look at with football.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think any of this
I don't think you want
work.
your first lawsuit being from women's sports.
Well, it's already happened.
Well, that's just for the settlement.
I know, but it'll happen in all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely happen if they try and flag Nigeria Kennedy's.
But she's worth it. That's the thing. Is like, who's determining who's worth what? That's
well,
the
it's
part
not that she couldn't go out and get it in the free market, but you can't just give it to her without doing something. Like she's got to have promotion. She's got to promote things. She's got to be a ambassador for something. I don't know. Maybe
like advertisers don't pay NBA players just to say they signed a contract. Like you gotta do the Nike commercial. You got to do whatever.
Yeah, you got to come out with a shoe like Shea or make a. I mean, there's so many things that we don't know about, like that Shea has obligations for Converse to make whatever money he's making. And those, I mean, that's the thing about it is it's a lot of work for even those pro athletes. Remember when Russ would always come out with stuff and like he'd be at Penn Square Mall and everybody would show up at Penn Square and it'd just be a mass of humanity out there. But it was always for some company that he was aligned with or sponsored by. So that's how it works anyway. I know, it's NIL. Make sure it's not up yet, but J.P. Hughes used to be a walk-on at Oklahoma. He now works at Range Sports. And it's a great episode if you really like to hear about NIL, agent community, how this is all working together. And he explains a lot about how they approach it. This
was on the Family Business.
This was on the Family Business. They rep Brock Purdy.
Cam
Scattaboo, our favorite. They didn't even get into that yesterday, but yeah, go check that out. And there's your NIL talk. We'll head it off at the pass there. All right. I know we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we get out of here? Josh, Eddie?
No, I don't think so.
Send me any lawn care tips you have out there.
I did find myself starting to think about football the other day as the Thunder season winds down. I think we're about a week and a half away from really kind of starting to dive into okay, I'm kind of excited for this.
We're less than a month away from media days, and that's really when it gets
less than a month.
Well, and College World Series will end Tuesday at the latest? Oh, Josh has got the Bible.
Monday.
I got my Phil Steele. So I am,
and Josh,
I'm already diving.
You went hard copy. You didn't go digital.
Game one Saturday.
No, I got both. Like when you buy the digital, they just send you the hard copy.
Okay.
So.
And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's pretty high on Oklahoma in there, right?
Yes. Let's see.
I think he has him as his number one surprise.
9.
Yeah.
Something like number 9 in his power ratings or something like that.
Not in the SEC, but the country.
Yes, he has.
Guys,
OU way up there.
The thing I wanted to ask you about, a pod, I've mentioned him before. I try to give him credit. Cover 3 was talking about the toughest schedules in all of college football, not conference related, whatever. They clearly, and I mean to a man, had Texas' schedule ahead of Oklahoma's.
Okay, well they're just stupid.
Do you see any way that's possible?
Unless
I get Ohio State. I get that that's a unbelievably tough game.
I'm looking at it right now.
How good do they think Florida is going to be?
Yeah, Florida.
But
even then,
even
then you still have
they've
Kentucky.
got 7 auto wins.
Yeah, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt all on their schedule.
I mean, who do they? I guess my question would be, who do they think from the Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Florida range? Does that match up with what Oklahoma's going to have to go through with Auburn? I guess we'll just throw in Tennessee, Alabama, and Michigan. I don't know. That kind of seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for this rating?
Cover 3.
It was it's Tom Fornelli. It's Bud Elliott. Danny Cannell is one of them.
We don't take it seriously.
I can't remember.
God bless him.
Well,
Tom Fornelli.
I listen basically for Fornelli and Bud Elliott. I think they both do a really good job. They talk a lot of analytics. They take pretty good deep dives. It's not a lack of respect. I was just very surprised that you could come out that way. Because to my eyes, I think Oklahoma has a very real case for the toughest schedule in the country. Forget
Josh,
behind Texas, but behind anybody.
You said they look at deep analytics. The analytics have shown that OU and I think Florida as well arguably have maybe 2 of the toughest schedules in the history of the sport. It's not just this year. It's a thing where it's there's never been a schedule this tough in the history of college football.
like I said, it was one of those things where they were talking about there's one school out there that really has a bear, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be Oklahoma. And they're like, yeah, Oklahoma almost made my top 5, and we're like, what are we talking about here? And guys, like, the thing I got into was the depth of it, because I agree. I don't know, with the exception of Texas, obviously being a top 5 team, there's no Ohio State in the rest of OU's schedule. Like, there's not that game where you're just like, there's no way. They're not winning that game. That kind of thing. Like, you don't see that. But I was looking at Missouri might be the 9th toughest game on Oklahoma's schedule. You take out the 3 other non-conference beyond Michigan, and Missouri might be 9th. It would be like the top half of Texas's schedule. And I'm just like, I don't know how you can't look at that depth and just be like, that run from basically the Cotton Bowl forward is just murderer's row.
All right. Plenty of more of that to come throughout the summer.
Yeah.
No, but we're gonna end it there. But we appreciate everybody listening. And by the way, check out that family business. We'll get you another recruiting report when the time is right. Probably around the corner, coming up here by the end of the week that we're gonna put out there. So just remember, it's only $1 to join Soonerscoop.com. Only getting better with the acquisition of Rivals, and got some other things that we're going to announce here soon that will make your subscription even more valuable. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.